Well, there we are. I'll finally talk a bit about the background story of my hybrids, and most importantly, give you a basic overview of my alternate universe I mentioned here and there. Not that I myself am far into finishing the story, I only got a rough outline that might become the foundation of a bigger project. While I'm trying to get back my motivation for my Godzilla project, I'll work on fleshing out this verse for the future. Originally, I actually had a story for Ultimaspinus years ago, which was scrapped, but the whole hybrid war thing led me to think of some lore for my creations once again. With that, welcome to Jurassic World Hybrid Warfare. The story takes place in Russia, with its early beginnings set in the final decades of the previous century, moving on to the near future. I chose Russia mostly because first, the government is pretty ruthless, and I kinda can imagine them trying something like this. Second, because I wanted to play with that Russia-USA rivalry concept a bit, expanding it to the massive progress in genetics seen in the Jurassic World universe. Now let's dive right in with the backstory of my hybrids and what they were created for. Early days of Novigen and the Izkashat. During the 70s and 80s, genetics have progressed massively. John Hammond successfully managed to recreate prehistoric animals and founded the InGen company, eventually leading to the first Jurassic Park being planned and built on Isla Nublar. The technology was new, and not only this American company experimented with bringing extinct animals back to life. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union started pursuing similar goals, but the project didn't last for long and collapsed together with the USSR in 1991. The project was stopped and not picked up again for the next few years until more information about InGen's steady progress in genetic engineering came to light in Russia. The government secretly decided to continue the lost project from Soviet times, as they started to see a rival in the American InGen company. When information about the amalgam testings was leaked to the Russian scientists, the Novigen organization was founded. Other than InGen, it was pretty much a government organization, and many of its projects were state-funded. They soon started working on hybrids. Novigen was rather ruthless, going as far as stealing information from InGen and other biotech companies, soon working on hybrids. At first, they experimented with mixing 2 or 3 species only, leading to creations like the Kentronix or Tyrannoraptor. But, of course, they wanted more. Quickly, they started with something more complex. Too quickly. Until the Ultimaspinus escape, the following hybrid's existence was kept secret for years. It was Novigen's most ruthless project to this day, and while the genetic contributors of the creature remain unknown except for the Spinosaurus base, the addition of human genome is also suspected. Other than that, it is thought that some kind of nodosaur and ape genome were included. So while Dr. Wu managed to create his first real dinosaur hybrid outside from the amalgam testings, the Scorpius rex, Novigen brought something no less grotesque to life. Nicknamed the Iskazhat, name simply derived from the Russian word for distort or deform, mainly because this more or less is my version of the D-Rex or the Distortus rex, as it's called canonically. Born with genetic anomalies, this hybrid, for example, sported a set of additional forelimbs. Like in many cases of so-called polymelia, these additional arms were mostly not functional. However, the main set of forelimbs is extremely powerful, with hands ending in long hooked claws effective for tearing and slashing. Izkashat has opposable thumbs, allowing it to better manipulate its environment and even use tools. These forelimbs are its main weapon, as the flimsy jaws aren't able to exert much more force than a normal Spinosaurus. Its skin is covered in spikes and nasty hallucinogenic neurotoxins. The armor protects it quite effectively against firearms. But overall, the hybrid's build is far from optimal and limits it to hunting prey smaller than itself. But what should be kept in mind is that the Izkashat is highly intelligent. so its mind is greatly affected by its anomalies, making it highly aggressive and less coordinated. For unknown reasons, the creature has no eyes. Instead, it most likely uses a combination of echolocation and precise sense of smell, as well as sensing vibrations to orientate. Izkashat has camouflage abilities to its disposal, as well as voice mimicking abilities. It can mimic a variety of sounds, though limited in effectiveness due to issues with its vocal cords. Whether the Iskazhat should have been even kept alive or not is unknown as of now, but what is certain is that someone, for some reason, decided to study it, experimenting on it for years. Until one day, during the Ultimaspinus incident, it was freed, terrorizing the Novigen facility, which the Ultimaspinus already was devastating. Before the Ultimaspinus left into the wilderness, he and the Iskazhat met, with the anomaly directly engaging in a short battle. It didn't stand a chance against the living tank. The Ultimaspinus, with his size and extremely robust build, easily overpowered it and killed it, putting a quick end to its suffering. HULS 11 incident. During the late 2000s, while InGen was working on the Indominus Rex, Novigen created a hybrid that redefined power. This hybrid was clearly more refined than the Iskazhat. The problem with the Ultimaspinus, often nicknamed Living Tank for obvious reasons, laid elsewhere. It was created to be able to overpower any dinosaur thrown at it, the ultimate apex. The problem was that Novigen gave it everything they could, making him large and extremely strong, exceptionally armored and equipped with camouflaging abilities. Not only that, it was highly intelligent. They achieved their goal of creating the ultimate monster, but at what cost? Ultimaspinus, code number HULS 11, wouldn't really have any purpose, aside from being an entertainment animal. And for that, he was not suitable. He was too powerful, too smart, and built up a grudge against humans for abusing him. His clear social tendencies were completely messed up over time. Ultimaspinus escaped simply because he was too powerful to be contained, realizing that while he grew up, tricking the humans for months. Novigen felt too proud knowing they have created a hybrid even more powerful than the Indominus. A sauropod-sized super predator, able to overpower every other dinosaur and hybrid created to this point. It was the year of 2015, same year the Jurassic World incident took place. Ultimaspinus had carefully studied its enclosure and figured out it might not be able to contain him if he uses all his power. The hybrid had grown larger than expected anyway, covered in armor up to 3 feet thick, a robust skull allowing bite forces of 130,000 to 150,000 newtons, and extremely powerful forelimbs, not even considering the creature's massive size alone. One day, he broke through the main gate and curiously inspected the environment. The security forces were immediately alerted, but at first the animal didn't really bother with them, knowing their weapons would be ineffective. They were ordered to not engage in a confrontation, but one of the men opened fire in panic as the hybrid approached him. Ultimaspinus was suddenly enraged, and anyone within its range was either caught by the enormous claws or the crushing tail. The rest fled if they could. Confused and enraged, Ultimaspinus started devastating the facility. His creators finally realized what they had done. In the process, Ultimaspinus freed other creatures, including the Iskazhat, which further terrorized the facility. Ultimaspinus later killed the Iskazhat and left into the wilderness. There, he started to hunt sauropods and large hadrosaurs. He might even have looked for contact with other animals, but with his destroyed social tendencies and intimidating appearance, he failed and ultimately stayed on his own. The public wasn't informed about the missing hybrid, and it was first known to them that something was out there when 2 children from a small village went missing on a foggy day. If you've seen my first video about the Ultimaspinus, you might recall that the hybrid preferred hunting during nighttime or foggy days. There were many speculations about what could have happened, and then the police discovered several large footprints in the mud. While it was already unusual that dinosaurs approached human settlement so closely, the footprints didn't match any known species. But only when Ultimaspinus decided to attack a city, it became known that it was a huge unnatural dinosaur. It heavily damaged several residential buildings and rampaged through the streets, killing about 30 people before it faced the military. In a short battle, it overpowered a tank despite being wounded by a shell which, though not severely wounding him, intimidated him. After he dragged the tank into a building, mostly destroying the building, he left into the unknown once again. He might have held a grudge against humans, but he was also careful, and the tank intimidated him, so it left to avoid unnecessary risk. Meanwhile, the public demanded answers, but the government and the Novigen organization remained secretive about the origins of the Ultimaspinus. I mean, what else to expect from them? When the harsh winter started, sauropod and hadrosaur herds migrated south, and Ultimaspinus naturally followed his main prey items. He remained hidden for another few weeks, heading towards the Black Sea. Eventually, he entered Ukrainian territory, where he was discovered and hit by a missile strike, then succumbed to his injuries. The ongoing conflict between the Ukrainians and the Russian army, which had just annexed the Crimea Peninsula the year before, only intensified due to the sudden appearance of the Ultimaspinus. In Russia, the public also was enraged, since no one wanted to provide answers about the monstrous hybrid, leading to massive protests and a violent response by the government. With this, the HULS 11 incident, as it was now simply referred to, also had a massive political impact, and Novigen definitely learned its lesson. The aftermath. Well, so it seemed. The Novigen organization wouldn't stop creating hybrids, they would just take a different approach. Between 2015 and 2018, Dr. Wu was ordered to create a dinosaur that could be utilized as a living weapon, an attack animal, designed to hunt down human targets. We all know it, the Indoraptor. A hybrid made from the deadly Indominus rex and Velociraptor. Highly intelligent, but most importantly, an unstable prototype. And yet some greedy businessmen couldn't help themselves but sell it at the auction in the Lockwood mansion. And as we all know, this turned out to be a failure once again. Novigen heard about it and was more than happy to take on the task themselves. After all, some Russians still wanted an Indoraptor. After the Ultimaspinus incident and its political impact, they became more careful and decided to create more refined, in their words, useful hybrids. Something more effective, more controllable. It was during this time two workers at Novigen decided to turn against the organization and try to finally provide the public with the information they demanded and that the government kept from them, even though their own knowledge was limited. They had worked at different departments of the organization, but met each other shortly after the Ultimaspinus incident. Nikolai Antonovich Krasnov was one of the geneticists involved in the creation of the Ultimaspinus. Once he realized the failed experiment that was the Izkashat was still alive when it was freed during the Ultimaspinus escape, he asked himself how much information the organization actually kept secret. And after the HULS 11 incident, which caused approximately 100 deaths, if not more, he secretly turned against the organization, despite the money offered. Alexei Mikhailovich Korolyov was leader of the security force responding to the Ultimaspinus breakout. After he witnessed most of the squad being massacred and Ultimaspinus being completely unfazed by the weapons, he decided he wouldn't continue working for an organization that created monsters, and left the organization. Nikolai stayed for the following time, since he, as one of the involved geneticists, had access to important information. After he heard that Alexei left, he decided to search for him, and they eventually met, just to find out they were now traitors and enemies of the state in a way. Meanwhile, Novigen worked on their Indoraptor 2.0, the Umbraraptor Thanatos. Living weapons. And I told you, I present 2 more hybrids in this video, so let's start with that one. Mild macrothorax serves as the base genome, since Megaraptorids are somewhat underrated and more unique for a hybrid than just another dromaeosaur-based one. But it also comes with some good adaptations already. Most importantly, the powerful arms and long hooked claws, characteristic features of the Megaraptorids. The second dinosaur in the Umbraraptor's genome is Lambeosaurus lambe. If you have seen Goji Center's video about the Motellodon, you might know why this was included. Hadrosaurs were great runners, comparable to modern horses, sporting anatomical adaptations, allowing them to accelerate quickly and keep their speed over long distances. These leg and tail adaptations will be implemented into the hybrid, allowing Umbraraptor to run for miles without exhausting itself, in combination with the MARP's efficient respiratory system. The next addition is the giant pangolin for their strong keratin scales and further addition to the claws. It also will make the hybrid more adept to dig into the ground if necessary. The African dwarf crocodile was added for underside armor and a strong immune system to deal with diseases and toxins more effectively. Then we once again have the bonobo for further muscle density, dexterity, longer forelimbs and opposable thumbs, as well as enhanced problem solving and learning capability, added on with the Molossian hound for better cooperation with humans. The Komodo dragon was added for their anticoagulant venom, iron-laced teeth and beta-keratin additions. The vampire bat for iron relocation to teeth, armor and claws, as well as a strong immune system and echolocation. Originally, I included the pit viper for thermal sensors, but since vampire bats have that to some degree, it was redundant and unnecessary to keep in the genome, so I'll most likely replace it with some kind of anole for adhesive toe pads to add to climbing abilities and color changing. This is Novigen's first completed anti-personnel hybrid, the Umbraraptor Thanatos, name meaning Shadow Thief of Death. Being 2 meters or 6.6 feet tall, 5.5 meters or 18 feet long, and 710 kilograms or 1,569.7 pounds heavy, they are not exactly large hybrids, but definitely big enough to hunt down human targets. Being smaller means it will be quieter and faster, as well as more maneuverable in narrower areas like hallways. Umbraraptors can communicate and orientate by using echolocation. The vampire bat's sleeping abilities were also implemented to help this rather heavy creature leap off the ground a bit more easily. Furthermore, the bat's gripping mechanism was added to the fingers, so dislodging those hands will be impossible when grabbed by the hybrid. It also helps them with climbing, and their crocodilian-like tail allows them to move more effectively in aquatic environments, making this hybrid an all-terrain hunter. In short bursts, Umbraraptor can accelerate to around 77 km per hour. The dark coloration, bright skull-like face, and blue mouth tissue were added for an unnatural, more intimidating look. Umbraraptor has a keen sense of smell thanks to the dog and Komodo dragon genome, further supported by the Jacobson's organ. The claws allow them to hook into prey, grabbing it to dispatch it with tearing bites. But Umbraraptor, code number HUMR12, shouldn't be the only hybrid created during the time. They were soon joined by HARC13, Arctoilus carnifex. This mammalian hybrid was created at the same time the Umbraraptor was. This tanky cat was made mainly to hunt medium-sized dinosaurs or guard property, like important factories, power plants or military bases, and maybe some rich dudes' homes for what we know. For the base, I chose Smilodon populator, one of the largest, if not the largest, cats to ever exist. They already give us a powerful frame, strong neck and shoulder musculature, and some other benefits of cats, like the dexterity and reflexes. Smilodon is also speculated to be a social animal, which also is important. Next is the largest bear to ever exist, Arctotherium angustidens. This animal will add to the overall bulk and musculature of the hybrid, add to its shoulder musculature and give it broader paws with long claws that would deliver devastating blows. It will also give Arctophilus a keen sense of smell superior to any dog. The marsupial lion, or Thylacoleo carnifex, will provide a highly robust skull and powerful jaw muscles. Compared to their size, Thylacoleo had extremely powerful bites, as their skull provided plenty of attachment points for jaw muscles. This will help pushing the hybrid's bite force to 15,000 newtons. Additionally, Thylacoleo will also add a semi-opposable thumb, with a long thumbed claw and even more robust shoulders. Lestodon armatus will also add to the size, provide a strong tail for better stability when standing up on the hind limbs, and a mesh of bony nodules underneath the skin, forming a strong chainmail-like armor, protecting the hybrid against many types of stabbing and slashing wounds. Like all ground sloths, Lestodon had extremely robust forelimbs, making the hybrid's arms even more robust and powerful, as well as able to handle a lot of force. Like in my previously presented hybrid, the Muradromius pharodon, the spotted hyena was added for their stamina and social behavior, as well as excellent cooperative problem-solving capabilities. These were added on with the bonobo, and the Molossian hound once again comes in to make human cooperation easier. The infamous northern short-tailed shrew was added for the iron reinforcements in the teeth, and the vampire bat to incorporate even more iron into those as well as into the claws. And it again adds a strong immune system as well as thermal energy sensors. The grasshopper mouse adds to toxin resistance with their resistance against many neurotoxins, and the Komodo dragon provides the hybrid with a strong anticoagulant venom and further resistance to diseases and toxins. And this is Arctophilus carnifex, the executioner bear cat. Growing 2 meters or 6.6 feet tall, 4.2 meters or 13.8 feet long, and 1,486 kilograms or 3,276 pounds heavy. These guys are able to take on a variety of medium-sized dinosaurs. And hunting in packs, they can take down prey a lot larger than themselves. Their anticoagulant venom helps them weakening and tracking down their prey more easily. They can look pretty intimidating. I mean, imagine a 1.5-ton cat-like creature charging at you at speeds of up to 56 kilometers per hour. And they're usually not alone. Standing up on its hind limbs, Arctophilus easily reaches a height of 3.9 meters. Their armor is not as bullet-resistant as that of Umbraraptor and Muradromius, but out of the three, they're clearly the most physically powerful and even slightly more intelligent. Like Umbraraptor and Muradromius, they are social animals, and can form strong bonds with those who raised and trained them. They are able to cooperate with Umbraraptor and Muradromius if trained properly. While they're mostly guard and hunting animals, some in fact have been brought into war zones, alongside Umbraraptors. They can easily take out a human opponent with a single smack and crush your skull without effort. While they're not as good at traversing aquatic environments as Umbraraptors, they in fact are decent swimmers actually. With a keen sense of smell and great stamina, they can track prey for miles. Their climbing abilities may be limited by their sheer mass, but their powerful musculature allows them to still leap onto their targets effectively. With their thumbs and over 25 centimeters long thumbed claws, they can firmly hold onto prey. They are fierce brawlers, overpowering other animals by sheer weight and strength. Depending on the prey's size, they will resort to different killing methods, such as a bite to the throat, with the elongated fangs severing major blood vessels or the windpipe, or just kind of choking the prey out, which they usually do on bigger dinosaurs. Anything within our size range will most likely have its skull crushed by a 15,000 newtons bite. Furthermore, Arctoilus uses its claws to disembowel its prey, or it will simply eat it alive. And that were two of my other hybrids many of you asked me to show in a video one day. But they wouldn't be the only living weapons Novigen created. I'll present two more in part 2 of this summary. Yeah, I decided to split this into 2 parts because the video is getting pretty long already. I still gotta think a bit about how to continue from this point on, and I didn't want to keep you wait any longer. I also gotta start finally working on that Q&A video for my 1K special, and I'm at 1270 already, but yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.